On my main channel, anytime we wanted something to happen, whether it was a trade, free agency, whatever it was, I had to leave the house. So I would leave the house and be like, oh, I'm waiting around. It's not going to happen. We get in the van, start driving, and I get a notice on my phone. Ah, okay. All right then. So this afternoon I've been waiting. Waiting because the NHL has some kind of a committee meeting that they bounced forward by 24 hours, and I thought, well, we're going to get some kind of an announcement. So I've been waiting on it, and it hasn't happened. So here we are. It's about 3:10 my time in the afternoon, and I'm still waiting. So why not do a video that's not on the hockey channel, and we'll see whether or not I can make a hockey announcement happen, right? And there were NBA announcements coming through, like about whether or not NBA players were getting texts asking them whether or not they want to play, which I read that and I went, what? No, that didn't even work. And basically my wife was joking around with the idea that you want to play was just the text they'd be getting, like you'd have with your friends if you want to go play street hockey or basketball or whatever, right? You want to come play? Sure, we'll go play. And so that's how that read, and now the NBA and the union have come out and gone, no, that's not what's happening. Now we're gonna start with WWE news. As Becky Lynch reveals she's pregnant, and so she's out. And the way she's phrasing it, it sounds like, well, that's it. It's the end of Becky Lynch as a wrestler. Just the way it's phrased and what I was reading. And you know what? If this was the end of Becky Lynch's run, she leaves undefeated. She hands the title off to Asuka. What? So I get it, and I'm glad Asuka gets the title. But wait a minute. You give the title to vacant, the undefeated vacant. You then have a tournament to decide who wins the title. You want to get people to watch wrestling, right? Here's your opportunity to create a tournament and get people to talk about it and say, oh, who could win this? And you could have an 8-woman tournament and just have, the quarterfinals on one week, the semifinals the next, and the finals the third week. And there's 3 weeks of wrestling right there. No, Asuka just gets it. She's the champ. So, guess that's that. The Canadian National Exhibition in Toronto announced they're shutting down for the first time since World War II. They were shut down during World War II once, and now they're shutting down due to the fact that you just can't have crowds of that size this summer. And they likely want to make that announcement as soon as possible because people are going to be planning out their summer trips and everything. So cancel it now while you can and early as possible so that people aren't making those travel plans. It will be interesting to see what people do this summer because a lot of these things are going to be closed, whether it's PNE here in Vancouver or CNE down in Toronto and numerous other big public gatherings. Those won't be a thing for quite some time. We're not going to see big public gatherings like that for quite some time. So, it's too bad. I understand why Toronto did it. And I've never been to the Canadian National Exhibition. I've honestly never actually done the P&E thing either. I know I've lived in this area forever, and I've never once said, I really want to go to the P&E. It's never been something I've said. Now that I've been to Disneyland, maybe. Maybe I could be talked into doing it, but it's just a maybe. Vince McMahon apparently is going back to WWE news. He's planning on having shorter pay-per-views until fans are in attendance. I guess he feels that without the fan reactions, that you can just shorten down the shows. There's no point in making them longer. The interesting thing is, Raw's still 3 hours. That pay-per-view they had the other night was what, 2.5 hours? That's what you should be doing, Vince. Your regular show should be 2 hours a week, and your pay-per-view should be 2.5, and get it done. And I have said for years, pay-per-views are just getting too long. These 4-hour pay-per-views, and then it was 5 hours for WrestleMania. It's like, holy crap. Just stop. You can do one of two things with this. Either you shorten the event down, or if you want it to be a 4 or 5 hour extravaganza, split it into 2 days. And WrestleMania was split into 2 days this year. Maybe we'll see it going in that direction from here going forward. Now, as I said, the NBA and the union have now come out and announced that they're going to have a group to decide on how and when to return. And there's been a lot of grumbling within Major League Baseball, within the NBA, within just pro sports in general. A lot of athletes going, I don't have any interest in us playing if there's no fans in attendance. We're not going to do all that. Well, see, sports is losing billions and billions and billions of dollars. And at some point in time, the owners, the people in charge of the league are going to be saying, we lose how much money? Yeah, you guys can get back to work, and so they make it as safe as possible in the meantime. But we don't know how long this could go on for quite some time. So while for me, I'm up to now. It's been 8 weeks for us being at home and being isolated and all that. But at some point in time, people have to go back to work. The mall here locally is looking like they're going to open up next week, and limited openings are going to be taking place, and sports will follow suit. And there certainly will be players who say, I'm not going to play. But I don't know whether the leagues, let's say you take a vote and 12% of players say we don't want to play, the other 88% say yes. Do you just say, all right, well, we'll go without those 12% and go forward? Apparently, with Major League Baseball, it's going to be an 82-game schedule with an expanded playoffs. And I have to say, sports in general could come out of this, all of them looking to expand playoffs, because that's going to expand your revenues later. And then once you've brought in this emergency situation where you've expanded your playoffs, if they perform really, really well and they get a lot of fans talking and they drive your ratings up, you might be able to go to the unions after and go, these are really good. We kind of want to leave expanded playoffs. Now, if you're the players, you might say, okay, expanded playoffs, fine, but then you're going to drop the regular season down a bit. That's what I would expect in the NHL especially, and with football if football did that. Now, where the NBA and NFL could run into trouble is that stay-at-home orders have been extended through the end of July in LA County. So you've got a few teams there, well, a couple in both the LA. I don't know if there's another California team that will qualify as LA County. I don't think so. But the point still is, you've got these stay-at-home orders which would preclude players from being able to be at the practice facilities. So even though the NFL season's pushed back a bit, things are going to get really, really interesting. And we'll see how that goes for them, because they've released their schedule. It's going to be a little bit later than normal. One thing I heard with the NHL, for instance, is that it could take them 3 years to get back to a regular schedule. So as much as people are like, that's it, we got to just shut her down, we'll come back in October, the NHL is ready for things not to be ready for October, or potentially for all of this to lead to a schedule that's just completely up in the air. So we'll see how that goes. And of course, that would change contracts and when they expire and all that. It's just gonna, sporting world in general is gonna be an absolute mess. I want to mention on a TV note, Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist is still a toss up for whether it's going to be renewed or canceled. Please renew the series. It's a very, very well written series. If you haven't seen it, watch it. It's entertaining. It's not a lot of laugh out loud funny, but it's cute. And the musical numbers aren't irritating to somebody who's not a fan of musicals, which would be me. So I genuinely found the musical numbers to be entertaining. So hopefully that gets renewed. And if it doesn't, it'll be one of those great shows that had one season. And at some point in time, I will talk about the Freaks and Geeks of TV series that only lasted one season, like Freaks and Geeks, for instance. Great. And then when you look at the cast for Freaks and Geeks, it's just star-studded too. Like, holy crap. And I keep reading about this. I just want to say, if they're making another Pirates of the Caribbean movie, why? They got terrible from the third one on. They were bad. The first one was good. The second one was good as well, and then it goes right off that cliff. So yeah, I don't know that I understand why. I'm bewildered. I'm also bewildered that Twilight Zone, apparently season 2 starts in June. We got, I think, 3, maybe 4 episodes into Twilight Zone, and it just, I don't know. I know they were remaking old ones, but it didn't feel like Twilight Zone. There was just too much gore and just stuff. Like, it just didn't feel like it. It just felt like they were trying to, I don't know. It didn't work for me, which is sad, because Jordan Peele is fantastic in my eyes. And when I heard he was bringing it back, I thought, well, that'll be great, because Us is amazing and Get Out is amazing, so this should be great. And then while we're watching it, my reaction was one of, I don't know, I didn't really like it. I didn't find myself wanting to watch more of it. So if it got a season 2, it must have done well enough that people wanted more, but we'll see how long it goes on for. If you're in the UK, apparently TV and movie filming will resume this pretty soon here. I would imagine all the filming stuff is going to resume around here pretty soon as well. I would think that's probably in the phase 2 of reopening. Again, if you're making a movie, you're making a TV show, you can cut the cast back. There's certainly been instances where for certain scenes, for certain moments, you might have a skeleton crew. TV and movies might be using skeleton crews. They might be using CGI a little bit more than normal. And I know people don't like CGI. I'm more of a fan of practical special effects myself, but we might see more CGI things being done just to cover for the fact that you may not be able to have all the extras on the set. You may not be able to have everything set up the way that you normally would for your TV show. And then just doing rewrites, just taking a look at some scenes, whether it's movies or TV, and say this would involve at least 100 extras. We're gonna have to rewrite this and change it. So the interesting thing is going to be having television shows and movies where they're being filmed during this time, and they still have to look like they're being filmed during a regular everyday time, unless they're about what we're going through right now, in which case you just leave it. But I am interested to see what they do. And I put television and movies in the same area as sports. As part of the reason why I throw them all together in videos on this channel. I kind of put them in the same area where they're distractions. It's almost like it's the distraction guy more than the entertainment guy. Distractions from everyday life that just you're not happy about, whether you're not happy with your job or tired of all the politics stuff or whatever you're tired of. You've got television shows to watch, you've got movies to watch, and you've got your sports. And all those distractions kind of all blend together on TV. They all get rated against one another. It's not like Monday Night Football gets rated just against itself. It gets rated against everybody else. And you're like, oh, look, it outproduced Conan O'Brien's show. Well, of course it did. So, yeah, we'll see how that works. And how maybe television crews figure out a way to do this, and maybe sports relies on them for some information. Maybe sports figures it out, and television and movie crews talk, like, they're all doing basically the same thing. You want your talent to be completely insulated and isolated as safely as possible, and so this is going to make for an interesting time. And then the last note on the board is that now Dan Harmon's talking about a community movie, so maybe it is going to happen. Now I would not rule out Dan Harmon just dicking with people and just say, you know what, I'm not gonna. I mean, I do it just by taking out the register in the ceiling there because people complain about it. So, you know, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't put it past Dan Harmon to basically, you know, tease that he's going to do a community movie, and then 6 months from now go, yeah, it was never going to happen. Just like, you know, I'll make sure there's a hole in the ceiling, and I don't know what I'm going to do with it. I have no idea. Yvonne and I are thinking about some creative ideas because, yeah, good luck. Anyways, there you go. Just a little bit of a news of the day type video for the entertainment and on the sporting side as well. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. When can any of this start? Like, I'm talking filming and sports, because to me it's a very similar thing, where you've got what potentially could be large groups of people that you have to keep isolated from everybody else, keep them as safe as possible, and produce content that we, the consumers, are going to want to watch, and it's going to take us away. I would also note that UFC did a pretty good job of pulling off the event to where Dana White's kind of taking a victory lap right now, and I can't really blame him. Dana White takes a lot of criticism. I've got to say, he does own up to it. And yeah, I mean, UFC pulled off an event. Yes, there was a test that was positive. That fighter was not in the ring that night. So, and the other 3 positives were all within that crew. So he proved it can be done. And apparently other leagues have been calling him and talking to him about what he was doing and how that worked for him, and the busing and the isolation and all of it. So, you know, in this time, in this crazy time that we're in, you can go from pariah to messiah pretty darn quick. So there you go. Let me know your thoughts. Do hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.